Hello everyone, welcome back. We're here at Noisebridge for another episode of School of Melee. Happy to be back, it's been a while. We're just gonna do a quick one today for you guys at home, learning a little bit about the technical part of Uncle Punch for people who maybe haven't used it that much and are interested in trying to do more advanced things with it. So I'm loaded up here in Dolphin. I have already prepared some save states ahead of time, but we're just gonna go through and flip through all these panels first at kind of a high level of what is offered to us and how we can actually take advantage of that, and then we'll kind of drill down into each one, how I actually take advantage of all these different features of Uncle Punch. So this is the main menu that you're gonna see when you load up. One thing I will say is now, if you hit that right trigger, this is a link to the online YouTube tutorial series from Eich. This is, again, Uncle Punch, the Community Edition, which is the more recent one, which has all kinds of new features and bug fixes on top of the regular Uncle Punch. So I definitely go check that out. And again, this YouTube series is very helpful for yet another guide getting familiar with the software. If I go ahead and hit L, you can see in the upper left, that's my OST, on-screen displays. So these are just things that, as I'm practicing, if I know that I maybe want to work on being a little bit more frame tight with some of these techniques, I can easily go ahead and toggle some of those on and off. So maybe when you're learning L cancel, it would be helpful to see your L cancel timing and whether you hit it or not, because you might not be able to visually see every time whether you're hitting it. But then maybe you get a little bit more comfortable with L canceling, you decide you don't need that anymore. But things like wave dash information I think is usually very helpful, because it is very hard to visually get feedback about exactly how perfect your wave dash is. Helps you get some of those timings on a little tighter. Also, fighter-specific tech is, I think, something that has been revamped very much for the Community Edition. I play Sheik, so there's not a whole lot of fighter-specific tech, and the stuff that she does have, I don't think is actually under this toggle. So depending on what character you play, I know Spacey's tech used to be an older one, helping you hit your shortens. But all of these are kind of worth flipping on every once in a while to actually see whether you're taking advantage of these techniques as much as you could be. I think SDI is another one that I definitely would do. If you're practicing anything defensive, it's very helpful to see how much SDI you're actually getting on some of these techniques. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back. We're actually gonna start with this tab on the left, mini games. I think if you're newer to Melee, these ones are a little bit more user-friendly, because they're really simple to understand and they're actually a lot of fun. But even as someone who plays a lot of Melee, I think they're great warm-ups. So first one is exercise. I can come in, I usually just play Sheik. We can load up, pick a stage, and then you can see on the screen, it's gonna go ahead and spawn some of these eggs. And normally, you're gonna have a damage threshold of 12, so unless I use a stronger move, it's not gonna break. But if we go in some of these settings, I usually just like to enable the free practice. I think the 1 minute limit is a little unnecessary. And then sometimes I'll just go ahead and turn it all the way down to 0. And then I'm just practicing the eggs popping up. I'm going over to it. I'm trying to hit it with a stronger attack. Maybe I focus on hitting specific moves. Like one thing I'll do on stages with platforms is I'll try to rotate through all of my aerials. So I will do down air, next egg, I forward air, next egg, I up air, next egg, down air, and then back air. And I just hit that cycle over and over and over. And what it forces you to do is use moves that you might not be comfortable with in some new situations. So like, for example, right here, maybe a down air or a nair would be easiest to hit it, but because I'm in that part of the cycle where I have to hit a back air, I actually have to try to hit this back air here, which is a little bit harder to hit, but just kind of stretches my capabilities and gets me a little bit better. And there are gonna be some realistic situations where I am gonna want to use a spaced back air instead of coming in with something more committal like a nair. So I think this is a great one that I love to practice with. You can toggle the egg size as well. I haven't played around with that one as much. And you can also turn on your hitboxes so you can see your moves and notice where they are relative to the eggs. So this is one that I think is great for not only warming up your movement, but also forcing you to kind of take advantage of your entire move set as long as you're kind of cycling through what moves you're using. Just a great way to kind of start a session. I don't even know how to pronounce slalom. I don't know. Slalom, thank you. This is a pretty new one that I think is great, especially for characters who are very movement dependent. She gets a little bit harder, but as you can see, you're just running back and forth between the lights. I think this is great because it forces you to learn how to move on with very little notice in very specific ways, right? So I could take these really long dash dances, which is way easier, but as you'll notice, it obviously takes me way more time to do that, and my slalom time is gonna be a lot slower. So if I take advantage of things like wave dashing, maybe even moonwalks or this like dashing out of crouch, I will be able to slalom way faster. So by nature of just kind of playing this game, I'm already forcing myself to get a little bit better at some of my character's movement. I think this one can be pretty fun and just help with having you hit micro spacings where you're just out of range of move with very short notice. Moving on, Shine Blind. This is for shining. I don't play spacies. If you want to learn how to do a lot of multi-shines, that's a good one. Reaction test. This one's less of a game and just helpful for just testing like your reaction time. And then this one is for ledge stalling. And I would say for characters like Sheik or other characters where you actually have a nice ledge stall that you can do over and over again and not get burned. It's a little harder because the stage moves down. It's like you have to account for that, which is kind of annoying. But it helps make sure that your ledge dashes are perfect. I actually prefer for that to put on OST for your ledge refreshes, and then you can just do it on any normal stage, and then you don't have to restart the whole thing when you miss one. That's the main page. Going over to the right, these are like very specific situations that you can set up. Edgeguard training is one that Community Edition has ramped up a lot with a ton of different situations. I think this is another one that if you're just looking for something to turn your brain off and practice some melee skills without playing someone else, this is a great one because it's not the same exact situation over and over. You can change your own percent, which would make it a little bit harder, but also you can see now the Falcon's at 70, now the Falcon's at 68, now the Falcon's at 51. You're practicing so many different angles the opponent is being sent at and so many different percents that it forces you to like pretty much play these situations as if they were real situations. And obviously a real player is going to mix up a lot more things like fast fall. I don't think I've ever seen the CPU take advantage of fast falling as a mix up in their recovery. And I think there's only certain characters who the mode is programmed for, but I think this is one that it has come out more recently, but it is another one along with the exercise that I think is great to just throw in on a daily basis. Side B sweet spot for you spacies out there, Escape, Sheik, Tech Chase. Again, if you're a spacey player, I highly, highly, highly recommend this because I think a lot of people never practice this and then they go and they play against Sheik and they complain about getting tech chased when realistically they're probably almost never hitting their tech chases frame perfectly. Same thing if you find yourself losing a Falco over and over and over, but you're not well practiced against lasers. I don't know what to tell you. It's just such a strong part of the matchup that I think that's obviously worth your time. Float cancel training for Peach as well. So those are a little bit more of the bells and whistles, starting with the stuff that's a little bit more fun, going into the character-specific stuff. And we're going to go ahead and skip Training Lab because I think that's one that is by far the most advanced and what we'll spend time on the end. But just to quickly flip through these, L-cancel training I think is something that's great also to just move around a little bit as well. With Sheik, it's not as interesting, but having the barrel on I think can help you practice timings where if you're a Fox or Falco and you're doing that shield pressure, like especially characters that have really tight shield pressure, this is great because the barrel's not going to get moved back at all, right? But you still have the lag of I'm actually hitting the move, and that's obviously going to change like the timings on a lot of your things. Like you can see I'm like messing up some of my L cancels when I'm hitting the barrel versus when I'm not doing it, ideally, you know, with that same timing. You can get a little practice with the L cancels there. I think even if you're someone who's very experienced with Melee and you have your 90 plus L cancel percent rate, I think it's a great one for spacies if you guys ever watch, his name's escaping me, but the Idaho Falco, who's been around for a while. No, not new, Trap Lord. Trap Lord, if you watch when he's doing his YouTube videos, he takes advantage of this a lot with both Fox and Falco. Ledge dash training. Ledge dashing is by far one of the most important techniques in Melee, and I think makes a night and day difference for like mid-level players, how much glint that they can get. I think this is something that even if you're starting Melee, I would highly recommend trying to do this. It is just makes getting to ledge advantageous instead of being a disadvantage, which can completely change the way you play. If you're being pressured in the corner, you can escape to ledge. It makes your recovery so much better. And this mini game is just really, really good for learning. So you can see when I go ahead and actually do my whole run through a ledge dash, all of these at the top will show the different timings of all the different actions I do. And I can kind of notice on that last one, my fall into fast fall, I guess was that? Yeah, so I'm dropping from ledge, I think perfectly, maybe not. I don't know why my jump isn't showing up. I don't know, the colors are different from the last I did this, but the point is, when you do your ledge dashes, you can see exactly where you're losing time. You obviously have to hit 4 different inputs in close succession, but it has to be adherent to a particular rhythm. So it's something where sometimes it's harder to see visually exactly what's going wrong, right? Like if I'm missing my ledge dashes and I don't know exactly, well, was my angle bad? Didn't I not wait long enough to jump? Maybe I fell too long before I jumped and that's why I missed my angle. Really good for learning that. You can use the D-pad to switch the side that you're on. But I think this is something where being able to ledge dash with 0 frames of invincibility is good because you can shield. Being able to ledge dash with a few frames of invincibility is good, like right there I got 5. That's enough for a tilt or a jab, so now I can start being offensive off the ledge. But when you start hitting that like 8 or 9, especially with spacies, that's really important because now I can start throwing out up smash, aerials, all kinds of things off the ledge. I really love this way to practice ledge dashing. One more thing that I will say about doing the ledge dashing, you can practice from the respawn platform. This is a situation where you're off stage, you need to come back on stage and like quickly hit an attack. So there's no refresh, you just kind of have to go for it. That's a slightly different situation. If you're not familiar, depending on how you grab the ledge, it can change your ECB, which can actually change the timing of the ledge dash, and ledge dashes are different. There's 2 different timings. 3 stages are on one timing, 3 stages are on the other. There's a very informative hacks video about that if you want to check that out. The last other thing I would say is the camera mode. I would usually do it on fixed, and I would even try to not look at your character while you're doing a ledge dash, because in a real match, you're going to want to keep your eye on your opponent and see what they're doing. And you don't really need to watch yourself ledge dash, right? Like when you do the input, you know exactly what's going to happen. Like even if you close your eyes, the rhythm's the same. So I would practice with this sort of view so that you can practice watching maybe one of the platforms, something on center stage, and you're simulating watching an opponent while you do your ledge dashes. That's just something that if you always practice with normal and you are on the ledge, this is going to look very different from what you're actually doing in a match. So like even if I have the timing down really particularly well, that might not necessarily translate. So ledge dash training is a very important one. Wave dash training, that one's pretty simple. We can go ahead and skip that. Tech chase training, I think this is great for characters who can tech chase, like for me as Sheik or for Fox. A very important part of tech chasing, I also have a YouTube video about that if you're interested, is reacting to the animation. So when Falcon falls, I'm not watching for, okay, does he move left? Does he move right? Does he stay in place? You don't have enough time to do that if you want to hit some of the juicier options like grab, or with Fox, your up smash. So I love turning on the tech invisibility. And what this is going to do is when they land, it's only showing me like the first couple frames. And so that's the stimulus that I'm reacting to. So it's not even going to allow you to react to the movement. You have to see, okay, when that flashes, what does that look like? Does that look like a tech in place? Does that look like a tech roll? And then that will actually prime you to reaction tech chase versus kind of doing a later tech chase that's not necessarily going to translate in a match. You can also go ahead and move the CPU or human to like simulate different kind of landing situations. Another common one is like maybe I'm near the ledge and I can cover tech in place and tech roll out with like the same options, or practice getting a juicier hit if they do that tech roll in the corner, because obviously they won't be able to travel very far, but they'll still be in a lot of lag. Combo training, this one is probably another one that I spend the most time in. I think it's great because you can practice combos against random DI, have the CPU do a bunch of different counterplay, and it's just really great for like grinding kind of over and over. Like if I come in here and I'm tech chasing, like I can kind of make sure that my tech chases are frame tight. Or if I go ahead, I'm gonna press R and then, maybe they changed this. I did see a bug fix about this. Something might be going on with my controller. But there's a way to change the percent of your opponent, or you can change with D-pad down, the situation, like the opponent will just come to wherever you are. So I can practice like doing some combos on the platforms as well. And it is great for, you can go on a stage, pick a random character to play against, set up a random situation, and then just grind the situation over and over again, see what works, see what doesn't, and then you'll be able to bring that back into a real match, knowing that, you know, this isn't training mode, this isn't a CPU. If you're hitting a combo, it's because it has like those frame tight links. So it's not totally realistic, but if anything, if you're hitting it in this, you will be able to hit it in a match, although sometimes you'll have a little bit more leeway in a match because people are not going to always be frame perfect. Attack on shield, reversal trainings. I think these are important situations for Melee players to learn. I don't necessarily know if these events are that helpful. This is maybe one I'd throw in every once in a while. SDI training, I think, is important because a lot of people don't, and you can see I don't have the OST on here, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. SDI inputs, go back to my SDI training, and then you can see, okay, you can see I'm missing all of my SDI here. Obviously, my hand isn't even on the controller, but SDI is a very powerful defensive mechanic. I think sometimes when people try to implement it, they are either too late or too early consistently, and they don't know that. So if you're here, you can practice like there. I at least got some SDI, or if I do like really crazy, there we go, got 3 out of 5 on that one, right? So it just helps you actually get the timing down for trying to hit your SDI. And then of course, if you play Puff or honestly Sheik or someone, like actually getting out of Fox up air is really important. Power shield training. If you are losing against Falco, do this for like an hour every day for a week. I think that this is easily the most like important thing to do against Falco specifically. Another one that I would try to work in fairly often, because even not against Falco, but certain other characters, it's nice to have the ability to power shield projectiles. But it also helps you not just power shield train. So the name is a little misleading. I think honestly like laser training would probably be a better name, because I can also practice, like a lot of characters have options out of laser that are still pretty strong. So like a Sheik being able to dash out of laser or F-tilt out of laser and doing that like ASAP is really important. So this just gives you like another mode to practice that in. Ledge tech training, not as important for Sheik. I think if you play Falcon or Marth, this is very important because like when I am Marth and I do my up B, there's nothing else I can do during the animation, right? Certain characters you can kind of have a little bit more control with your recovery, but like once I hit up B, I'm locked into like doing the up B, right? So when you're doing that up B, I think you should always be teching, and sometimes it's a little hard because you'll have to hit the SDI, like what I did there, and then with Marth specifically, you do have to back air afterwards or you get sent too far away. But this can extend your survivability greatly if you're able to do this. I'm sure we've all seen a clip of Zane or some Falcon, like especially Wizzy, where they're just kind of caught near the ledge and the other person, you know, maybe they're Falco and they're down smashing, or it's Marth and they're down tilting, and Wizzy is able to like tech it 3 times and still make it back. That's really important, I think, one, for being able to last a little bit longer with some of your stocks, but 2, it can really take the wind out of your opponent's sails if you're actually able to hit one of these and stop them from actually like taking your stock. Other ones, Omsatech training. I think this is good for initially learning Omsatech training. I think that it really only practices one situation. So if you're comfortable with Omsateching, I don't think there's a lot more value to get out of that one. Shield drop training is helpful specifically for doing your shield drops as fast as possible. Or sometimes I like to practice shield dropping from a neutral stick position. I know a lot of people do the axe method where you hold to the left or right before you shield, so that all you have to do is roll the stick around the side of the gate. But I feel like sometimes you're just caught off guard, you're on a platform, your stick is not already pre-positioned and you're holding shield, and you need to just literally hit the angle. I think that this is a good event to practice that in. That's a skill that I'd maybe practice once a month, maybe not as important. Waveshine SDI, similar to the up air SDI, just helps you get a little bit more familiar with really the power of SDI. Don't forget to use your C stick, obviously. So if I go in and I do this with Sheik, I'm going to be holding right on my stick and then trying to, on the C stick, sorry. And then with my other stick, I am trying to time my input for when the shine lands. And you can see even hitting one of those can get me out of a wave shine. And this can be obviously really important because otherwise they can just wave shine you infinitely. So at least making that a little bit more difficult. Slide off training. Again, I think this is great for learning slide off. I don't think it's necessarily great for practicing slide off because this is just one specific slide off situation when realistically in a match, there's a whole bunch of them. And then grab mass training, I would not even bother with. So this is all the situations that have already been set up for you. And a lot of them are pretty helpful. Some of them maybe not as much, but there's plenty of other situations that you can practice in Uncle Punch other than these. And I would even say investing a little bit of time into learning how to create a proper save state can be very valuable, because then you don't have to wait for someone to make a specific training for the skill that you want to get better at. You can make your own save state. And like you can see, I've named all of these to practice specific other skills. So like there's no puff, up tilt, up smash event, right? Obviously that's super specific and a lot of people wouldn't care to practice that, but I do. So that was something I made, right? And I think especially the Marth reverse fair edge guard, we'll watch some of these later. This is actually something that I use a lot more often and I think has made me a lot better against Marth. So I think creating some of your own events based on what you actually need is helpful. You can also ask if you're in a character-specific Discord. A lot of people will have preset save states that they've made already to go ahead and practice. So if I'm loading up here, maybe there's a specific situation I want to do. Maybe we'll say against Fox, because I like playing against Fox. And we will go in. Let's just pick Battlefield, right? So we can go in. This is very similar to normal training mode in Melee until you get into some more advanced options. So like I can go ahead, hit the Fox. They're usually going to do some counter option. They actually will recover in several different novel ways, which is really helpful. So this is already a step up on regular vanilla Melee training mode, because they're not just going to do the same stupid up B every time. The recovery actually will be a little bit more helpful. So I was going to say combo training is nice because you can tell that your combo was always frame tight. If you want to practice combos that are a little bit more looser, maybe depend on reads or something, a little bit more free flowing, you can just come here and literally like Armada style, punish game on a CPU over and over and over. And I still think that would be pretty helpful to work in. But where this tool really shines is, of course, in the save state. So if I go to the menu here, there's a lot of different options. I think for people, it's really overwhelming. And I think when I was learning this, it was really difficult for me to take advantage of it first. But I also think it's a really powerful tool. So just to get you started here, we're not even going to go to general. The basic, simple save state is you go to recording, you save your position, right? And then now I can go ahead, do whatever, play some Melee, and I just pause, restore position, I'm back in that position again. So like if I just want to practice comboing this Fox out of this situation, I can just keep restoring position, and then as soon as I'm content with my combo, or maybe I dropped it, I just hit pause, I hit restore, I go back to it. That is the level 1, right? So if we want to get into something a little bit more advanced, we have these human options, and then the record slots, and then the CPU options and their record slots. So what this is saying is, for this save state, what actions do I want to capture, and then how am I going to take advantage of that? So if I'm recording, we'll go back, restore again. These are the actions that you can see that number at the bottom that's going up 200, 300. That's like a frame count. I can switch to playback mode, and now I'm not touching the controller, and yet Sheik is still doing the inputs that I just did previously. So that's less helpful for the human. It's way more helpful for the CPU. So when it's just control, maybe I want to reposition the Fox a little bit, and then I'm going to go here. We'll have to resave the position, which we'll do in a minute. So record, now I'm the Fox, and I hit a shine, and then I do some attack, right? So then I'll play back here, and then maybe as the Sheik, I want to practice some sort of counterplay off of that. Another easy one to do if you want to just get started, I think, is Marth forward smash against your shield is a fantastic save state to start off with. So it's dead simple, right? If we want to pretend that this Fox is a Marth, we're going to go back to record, and now I'm recording again. You see the Fox isn't going to do anything until I input forward smash, and then I can go playback. Now I'm the Sheik, I'm going to hold shield, and then they're going to hit me, and I can hit them out of that. So like if you just want to try to make at least one simple save state, that's a good one. Maybe for a little counterplay, they forward smash. Oops. This Fox is going to forward smash, and then I hold down on the C-stick and shield, and they're going to spot dodge as soon as possible. So I would practice punishing that forward smash, pretty frame tight so that it would actually translate to a match. Then the next time I'm playing against a Marth, they throw out that really corny forward smash on my shield. I'm able to punish them for it because that was something that I practiced in Uncle Punch a lot. So there is no Marth forward smash on your shield event, you can do like the reversal one, which is pretty similar.
Yeah, there's the reversal one. It's the same.
Yes, it is pretty similar, but maybe there's some specific situation, timing, something else, like maybe you want to practice being on the ledge and having him like push you off or something. So that's basic recording. Slots are essentially different saves of each of these recordings. So again, if I go to the CPU, we're on slot 1, I'm going to have the Fox forward smash. Great. Now I'm on slot 2, I up smash. I go to slot 3, I down smash. Now depending if I go to playback on which slot I'm in, the Fox will do that action over and over and over. So this is good if you are in a situation where your opponent has a mix-up. They can pick between multiple different options. You can set up a slot for each of those different options, and then you can react to, okay, which one did they pick? I'll do my counterplay. Or maybe you just have them mix in those 3 options and see, let me experiment, let me try something new. I don't even necessarily know what the counterplay is, but let me try to see like what works best against all 3 of these different things my opponent is doing. Okay. Just sticking to the settings that I think are better for newer players. Maybe if we revisit this, we can do a little bit more of an advanced guide. I like to have loop input playback on and auto restore on. So what this is doing is if I record with the CPU, and then you can see that was like a 2-second recording, it'll just do this on loop. Oh, why did that? Oh, because I went to slot 2. Haha. So if I stick on slot 1, let's record this one more time. Forward smash, playback. This looks like a glitch. I'm not sure. Usually it'll loop the input playback and the auto restore. It'll reset the situation so you can just do it over and over and over again. I think that we will see that on some of my other replays. Resave positions is the other one that, I have this Fox. He's already doing this forward smash. That's exactly what I want him to be doing. But maybe I want to do something a little bit different. So instead of playback, we're going to move somewhere else. And I'm going to go down and resave the positions. So now this is my starting position. So if I go and mess this up and then go hit restore, I'm no longer on that platform. I'm now at the place where I resaved the position. So if you want to slightly adjust how your situation is set up, resave position, prune position, delete position. We're not going to go over some of these other ones. The last one that is important is export. So if I have this great save state for practicing comboing Fox, and I really like it, and I put a lot of time into setting it up, I'm going to hit export, I pick the memory card, I punch in a name, and then I have that permanently, and I can go back and reuse that later over and over. So we'll show some ones at the end that I already have recorded. It's great because if you set up like some specific situation, you can save it to your computer, and then later, you don't have to go through the whole pain in the butt of setting this up again, and it can kind of pay back the investment of time that got put in. So maybe I spend 20 minutes making a save state, and then I can use it for 2 minutes a day, for the rest of my life. And you can send it to your friends. Going in general, these are great for setting up a lot of other more specific situations. It's also good for discovering how certain mechanics work, right? If I'm newer to Melee and I can't input all this stuff perfectly, I can turn on frame advance. And you can see my frame advance button is L, and then if I unpause, oh my God, the game's frozen. Was it a crash? No. We're now going frame by frame, one at a time. And so if I want to input something perfectly, like for example, I'm going to go ahead and hit jump, advance 1 frame, and now I take my hand off jump. So now I know that I'm going to get a short hop. This is the last frame of Sheik's jump squat. It's been 3 frames now. So if I go ahead and hit A and advance 1 more frame, this is a frame perfect nair. So maybe if I'm newer to Melee, I wouldn't be able to do that normally. It's especially fun with Fox because his tech is hard as shit and you can just, go frame by frame with it. So if you are playing against Foxes and they can do all this crazy shield pressure and you're like, oh man, I can't make a save state of that because I can't do that shield pressure. Well, one way is that you can turn on frame advance and just go frame by frame, setting up those same situations. Other ones that are a little bit interesting, fighter collision. You can see hitboxes and hurtboxes. I think there's a lot that are pretty deceiving. Like if you look at Sheik's bear, it actually hits like way further away from her foot. And you look at her down air, like that tip of her foot that actually is lower is just totally exposed. So I think it's helpful for getting a little bit more familiar with your character's exact hitboxes when you leave those on. You can turn on all kinds of other settings. I think a lot of them initially are not that helpful. DI display, if I go ahead and hit the fox, I actually think that's really cool because you can see, if I hit them with a move, where they're actually ending up. Input display is also helpful. Like I can see what my inputs are doing. Also great for recording if you're like me and you're making tutorials. All kinds of other bells and whistles here. The last one that I will do for people who are newer, I think hitbox trails is really cool. So I'll go ahead and turn that on and turn this to slow. So now when I throw out moves, like you can see where the move was active. And I think this is important for kind of reinforcing certain fundamentals about how the move works. Like if I go ahead and do this back air, look how much space that ended up taking up. Not really very much. Like the back air, I was in the same space the whole time, versus if I do a dropping back air, holy cow. Like I've actually created way larger of a hitbox just by moving my character more. So I think this is a principle that people don't really understand when they're starting the game, is that speed, range, and your movement can all affect the other attributes of those three. And I know that sounds a little bit confusing. What do I mean by that? If I'm playing a character that's very fast, right? So if I just do like a fair in place, you can see, okay, there's not a whole lot of size to this move. But if I'm running and I do a fair, actually fair is a bad example because it's not active very long. But you can see with back air, right? It's the same principle. If I'm doing it in place or with a slight drift, it's not very big. But if I go faster, oh my God, the move gets so much bigger. So like this is why Fox's nair is so oppressive. It's not because the nair itself is very big, but he can get such a running start that when he throws the nair out, it can be like half the stage that the hitbox actually covers. So when you turn on the hitbox trails, a lot of that is more obvious. I think another good one to see is if I just do this up air, not a whole lot doing, versus if I do a falling one, you can see it's like way larger of a move, right? Throw out my nair, my back air. Also just helpful for seeing like what timing of the move you hit or like what specific spot of the move you hit. Maybe I want to throw out some needles. And again, just kind of getting you familiar with the geometry of your moves. Sometimes without the hitboxes on it, it's kind of misleading where you think the move is supposed to be versus where it actually is. Those are the more simple ones. Trying to combine some of the stuff we've learned in terms of recording and the general options is actually like recording something that's a little bit more complicated. So I'm going to go here and resave my position, slot 1, and I'm actually going to do with a human, try to do something we'll call a little bit more complicated than what I would do normally. So I'll go back, turn on frame advance, and we'll walk up to Fox, jump, down air, and we're going to try, oop. See, my move is active. I'm advancing, advancing, advancing. I can hit my L cancel right now, so I'm gonna hit the ground, get that perfect L cancel, and then now I'm gonna go ahead and jump, frame perfectly, and here I am rising. I can up air, oop, I'm maybe not gonna make it. Oh, or maybe I am, come on, no. And then perfectly out of the end lag of my up air, I can go ahead and do some other thing like a smash attack. So if that was complicated for some reason, I couldn't do that normally. We're doing frame advance, we're putting the inputs in, we can record all of that. Then if I go back to recording, I wasn't recording that. Genius. But if I was, let's just have me do another one of those real quick, where I'm doing frame advance. 3, 4, do, do, do. Boop. Okay, here we go. Jump. We'll do a needle turnaround. And then I'll do a back air here, and hopefully this connects. Oh, there we go, we got the back air, nice. Okay, so if that was for some reason really complicated for me, I can go to playback, go back to general, turn it off, and now this is that same input at full speed. Got some save states that I've already prepared. These are ones that I actually use fairly often. This is a reverse fair edge guard on Fox. So should loop. And I'm going to go ahead, ledge refresh. I'm going to try to ledge refresh and actually hit the Fox out of their up B, where they're actually going to be sent off stage without having an opportunity to tech. So this is pretty hard. So obviously this is something that takes several repetitions to do, but as you can see right there, I just hit it. He did not have an opportunity to tech there. I was invincible, so I was safe the whole time, and yet I was able to hit the Fox off stage the other direction. Just a really helpful skill for me to have in my edge guarding, something that's really hard to practice without a save state because the ideal situation for that doesn't come up very often. So I can kind of get my reps in here rather than a real match, so that when I'm doing that in a real match, you know, I'm on the ball. Yes.
Why aren't you hitting D-pad left?
Why am I not hitting D-pad left? Because I am too stupid to know what that does.
You can say instead of doing the start, like you're hitting restore positions.
Okay. Well, the teacher has now become the student. Has that always been in?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm old-fashioned and I go back to restore every time. You can just hit D-pad left, I've been told. I'm glad this is a collaborative class. Other thing that I use save states for that I think is a little bit weirder is if you have like really niche situations where you have just like neat tech or something that doesn't come up very often, you can make a save state just to remind yourself that it exists. So this is one that on Puff, if I actually hit the back hit of up tilt, depending on what their DI is, let's try to actually get them to do the DI. We don't need frame advance. There we go. So you can up tilt, get the second hit into an up smash. It's just something that I don't remember to even try very often, but sometimes it's great as like a rest punish because you can catch people at that 30-40% that otherwise you don't have like a whole lot of punish on Puff. Here's another good one, again with edge guarding. I think because edge guarding, a lot of those situations are very bread and butter. Hitting the reverse fair there on Marth, very helpful for Sheik edge guarding. And then we'll do one more save state. What else do I have? This was one that was a specific situation I had against a Fox that I just noticed they would do these spaced bears on my shield a lot, and I was getting really tired of it, so I was thinking like, okay, what can I actually do to punish this? And I was practicing trying to hit these frame-perfect short hop fairs out of shield, and it's pretty difficult, but you can see like I hit it there. So it's just something to get my timing a little bit tighter so that Fox is not in as much of an advantage in those spots where he can just like spam bear on your shield over and over and over. So at this point, you know how to make a safe state on your own. You know how to take advantage of the ones that already exist here. But other thing I will say, I am not going to go through the whole kit and caboodle of setting this up. But if you use Slippy Lab with your replays, you can drop your replays in, pick a certain point in time from an actual replay, and you can hit a button. It will turn it into a save state. So the same inputs that you had in that actual match will become a save state, just like the other save states that I had already prepared in my SD card. And both the player, which is you, and the computer, which is your opponent, will be recorded. And you can do like input takeover, where you're kind of playing that situation over again. And as soon as you input something on your controller, it's no longer doing what the character was doing in the replay. You've like taken over, and whatever your input is now is what happens in the game. So like maybe I did something silly and I tried to forward tilt and I didn't have enough time to do it and my opponent up smashed me. I can go back and the next time like practice shielding instead in that spot, shielding the up smash and then moving quickly out of shield to punish that. So the idea is that we're breaking down some of the technical barriers of how to practice these specific situations so that when something happens in a match, we weren't happy with how a certain situation went. Maybe our friends at Falco and camped us out. We can go to the power shielding training. Maybe there's a specific situation, edge guarding Marth, that's really difficult. We can set up a custom situation for that. Or maybe the Fox was just doing a certain kind of shield pressure that we didn't know how to beat. We can take that shield pressure, throw it into training mode, and just keep experimenting with different things until we find a technique that works. So that is a nice introductory overview of everything Uncle Punch. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. There's all kinds of different bells and whistles and different more specific situations to learn with this, but I think gradually creating more and more intricate save states for yourself is good to practice a lot of these core melee skills that otherwise would be very difficult to practice, and help you get better at the situations that are actually going to make a larger impact in your matches. So that's all for this week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching. I think we're going to do a bracket here at Noisebridge.